welcome to another week of wrestling news and information. We are ending another week in the WWE universe, so I'm going to be covering a number of topics for this week that have come up, along with Backlash results, Monday Night Raw, Smackdown results, along with some other topics from both of those, all three of those topics that have happened this week. First off, we're going to start off with the Backlash results that happened last Sunday. The kickoff panel was Renee Young, Booker T, and Peter Rosenberg. Peter Rosenberg is not he's not very popular yet. He's done multiple pre-shows, he's done multiple kickoff shows. He has a channel on the network that he does with JBL and Corey Graves. Something to look into. I haven't watched it. I haven't had much of a chance. But that's always something to look into. I guess he's really good. I've just seen him on pre-shows, so I'm not really sure. The kickoff match was Aiden English versus Ty Dillinger. This match has come to about because Aiden English has lost his tag team partner. His tag team partner has left the WWE and has moved on. It was a mutual agreement between the two. He has moved on to do independent shows and independent bookings, and he's no longer with the WWE. So Aiden English is pretty much on his own. They were the Vaudevillains. But it really wasn't working out, and so Aiden has gone on his own, and we shall see how things go out. But Ty Dillinger has come up from NXT, and his nickname is the Perfect 10, and so Ty has been pretty much, undefeated right now. He's pretty much has kicked Aiden's butt, the last few encounters that they've had together. So Aiden has obviously left those matches crying backstage, so we should see where that rivalry goes. It seems to be pretty interesting so far, so we'll see how it continues. The first match of the night is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Dolph Ziggler. This rivalry has started where Dolph Ziggler called out Shinsuke Nakamura because Nakamura came from New Japan, where AJ Styles also came from, and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson all came from, and Nakamura was pretty, is a big name, obviously. If you've not heard of him, obviously, you've been living under a rock. He's a pretty big name in New Japan, and he's pretty much made a name for himself everywhere he's gone. But this was his first match as a WWE wrestler, and he's pretty good. I have not seen his matches in NXT, so I am not sure. This is the first time I've seen him wrestle. I don't watch NXT, so but it wasn't bad. I mean, I would probably give it maybe a 6 out of 10 if I'm going to rate it, but that's because Dolph Ziggler is a good wrestler, and Dolph has brought out Nakamura, pretty much helped him out, because, you have to work together, you have to have the chemistry, you gotta look good. But of course, the winner of the match was Nakamura. Gotta give the new guy on the roster a win. So this was his first win of pay-per-views and of being on the SmackDown Live roster. The second match was the Tag Team Championship match, and it was against the Usos, who were the champions, versus Breezango, who is Tyler Breeze, and Fandango. As I was watching the pay-per-view, The Breezango's antics during the pay-per-view were pretty hilarious. Breezango's costume changes were they were pretty funny. I mean, I've got to admit that Tyler Breeze did some funny stuff. And I understand where he's coming, where, you know, he's trying to lighten up the mood. And of course, you know, they're the baby faces of the match, and the Usos are to be the heels, and the Usos are like, no, we don't want this to happen, you know. So it's typical that the Usos are like, this is so stupid, and why are you doing this, and, you know. But, of course, the Usos won. But I think this whole match was pretty much to put the Usos and to show that the Usos were good. To show them as a tag team that they can still do it and they're not, like, you know, on the back burner, and that's why they're champions. So we'll see if the rivalry continues. It should be good. We'll see if it continues. Hopefully it will. The third match was Sami Zayn versus Baron Corbin. This match kind of started because Sami was saying something about Corbin on Talking Smack, which happens after Smackdown Live on the network, and Corbin wasn't too happy with him, and so Corbin attacked him, and Corbin also attacked a referee, and got suspended for a week and got fined by Shane McMahon. So this rivalry's been going on for, I don't know, about a month or so. They've been going back and forth, like, you know, talking about each other and, you know, the typical he said crap. He doesn't like me because of this, he doesn't like me because of that, you know, whatever. But the winner of the match was Sami Zayn, which is good for Sami because it kind of boosts him and brings him up into more of than just being a mid-card wrestler, because that's pretty much what he is at this point. That brings him higher up. I'm going to talk more about that later. The fourth match was the 6-woman tag team match between the Welcoming Committee, which is Tamina, Natalya, and Carmella, along with James Ellsworth. Versus Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Naomi. Now, there was controversy as to if Charlotte, Naomi, and Becky Lynch would even get along because they have a rivaled history. Charlotte wants the Women's Championship, which is held by Naomi. So they would, you know, it's been talked about of, will they even get along, you know, during this match. So, you know, it was a, who knows what would happen. But in the end, the winners were Tamina, Carmella, and Natalya. Little background information. There are actually two competitors in this match that are wrestlers. Three competitors in this match who are like second or third generation wrestlers. Charlotte is the daughter of Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. Tamina is the daughter of Jimmy Superfly Snuka. He has now passed away, but that's his daughter. And Natalya is the daughter of Jim Neidhart, and he used to wrestle back in the 90s. And if you don't remember Jim Neidhart, you might remember his brother Bret Hart. That's Natalya's uncle. So, you know, it's family connection. So there's 3 out of the 6 that have a family connection. The 5th match was the United States Championship match between AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens. Now this match kind of entered oh my goodness, I can't even talk. This match finished in a controversy, in a way, if you want to call it that. From reports that I've read from WrestlingRumors.net and from itsstillrealtous.com, the match was not supposed to end the way that it did. It was kind of like a fluked finish in a way, because the match, if you watched it, the match ended with AJ getting his foot caught in the announcer's table and the cables that are underneath it, for the TVs that they have hooked up. So it was a count out on AJ's part. So that's what gave Kevin Owens to retain his title. Wasn't technically supposed to end that way, so that's why they call it a fluked finish, but that happens. But there's, I'll talk about that more later, because there's something that happened on Smackdown Live that, will be, that I'll talk about, that you'll find, that I'll discuss. The sixth match was Luke Harper versus Eric Rowan. If you know the story behind this rivalry, it was pretty much these two were in the Wyatt family, with Bray Wyatt, and they were considered brothers at one point behind Bray Wyatt. But Rowan treated Harper as if Harper betrayed the family. And so Rowan went and was like, you betrayed the family, now you have to pay. Well, Luke Harper won the match, so it's kind of Rowan had to pay on that one. I'm not sure how I like Rowan as a wrestler. I don't think he can really wrestle, but that's just my personal opinion. Y'all can sound off in the comments about that one. The seventh match of the night was the WWE Championship match. It was Randy Orton, who was the champion, versus Jinder Mahal. This kind of ended in a fluke, too, because from reports that I read, that Randy Orton was supposed to retain, but I guess they changed at the last minute and put the championship on Jinder Mahal. Which WWE has been known to do, is to change their mind, because they can change their mind, obviously, up until the last minute, which they've been known to do with, the Bayley and Alexa Bliss match, for the title, I think at WrestleMania or something. So it's not surprising that this has happened. But from reports that I've read, Jinder Mahal is champion because they need more exposure in India. From the research that I've done, Jinder Mahal did not live in India. He was born, I guess he was born in India, but only lived there for a few years after he was born, and then moved to Canada. So he's not technically Indian. I guess he is, but he's more Canadian. I guess he has dual citizenship or whatever. Which is, a couple superstars have that, Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens and that kind of thing, I guess. But I don't know. He was born to Indian parents, but I don't know. I don't know what that whole situation is. I couldn't tell you. But I'm going to move on to Monday Night Raw. They started off the show with returning to last week, where the 5 participants were named of the Fatal 5-Way, to crown a #1 contender for the Universal Championship, which is being held by Brock Lesnar. Obviously, Brock hasn't showed up since WrestleMania, which was back in April. So, still waiting for that one. Bray Wyatt starts out the show, and of course, he's talking about the Fatal 5-Way. And he talks about each participant in the Fatal 5-Way. Roman Reigns comes out and says that if you're going to talk about the big dog, then the big dog should be there. Like, don't talk about the big dog behind his back, pretty much. Reigns goes on to challenge Wyatt for a match. Angle comes out and then makes the match. So the first match of the night is Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt. The winner was a disqualification. Samoa Joe comes out and causes the DQ, and then Rollins comes out. So then Angle catches up with Reigns and Rollins in the back and decides to make a Reigns and Rollins versus Wyatt and Joe for later on in the night. And then the Drifter, aka Elias Sampson, decides to make an appearance, and Angle says, hey, you've been trying to get my attention for the past number of weeks. How about I give you a match? I'll give you a match against Dean Ambrose. So Elias Sampson is going to make his Monday Night Raw debut, and we'll see how that goes. The second match of the night was Tozawa versus Daivari. This is a cruiserweight match from 205 Live. The winner was Tozawa. Now, on Tuesday nights after Smackdown Live is when 205 Live premieres. Tozawa and Brian Kendrick have a thing going on 205 Live. I don't watch 205 Live. I haven't been following that because I haven't followed the Cruiserweight since it started, so I'm not really sure the storylines that happen there except for what happens on Monday nights. If you want information, I can watch it. I don't normally. If you want results from those, I can. It's up to you guys. Sound off in the comments and let me know. Third match was Dean Ambrose versus Elias Sampson. This is the first time I've seen Elias Sampson wrestle. I have not seen him wrestle a match. He wrestled in NXT, but like I said earlier, I don't watch NXT, so I've never seen him wrestle. Apparently, he's a very violent wrestler. Like, he turns into a bad guy. So, I'm not sure if he's like a heel or what he's supposed to be in reality. But I don't know. Elias Sampson, though, won via disqualification because The Miz decided to stick his nose into it, of course. And that's a rivalry that, you know, between The Miz and Dean Ambrose that's been going on for a while now. And they'll clash at the next pay-per-view. Then we see a scene backstage where Enzo Amore is attacked. Still trying to find out who attacked him. We, question it throughout the night. And we continue to question it, hopefully leading into next week and the next few weeks to find out what really happened. There's speculation on blogs that I've read, that it was Big Cass who attacked him to separate those two as a tag team. But I think they're a really good tag team, so I don't really want a separation. Because I don't know how Enzo would do on his own, because he's technically not a good wrestler on his own. Like, I don't know. They make a good tag team nonetheless. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. And Kurt Angle said to Big Cass that they would find out who attacked Enzo, and Enzo and Cass was like, well, you better find out who attacked him, otherwise, you better find out before I do. Like, he was pretty mad. Then we go back to the ring, and Finn Balor comes out, and he talks about the Fatal 5-Way. Paul Heyman, the advocate for Lesnar, comes out, and he talks and addresses each of the competitors. And Balor tells Heyman that to tell Lesnar that he will win in 2 weeks at the Fatal 5-Way and go on to defeat Lesnar for the title that Balor never lost to begin with. Because if you remember, Balor actually was the first Universal Championship champion when they brought the Universal Championship onto Raw. He defeated Seth Rollins in that match. But Finn had to relinquish the title because he had an injury. Like, he separated his shoulder somehow. And needed to go and have surgery. Like, he separated his shoulder during the match, so he had to go and have surgery to take care of it. So he was out for like 6 months, seven months, something like that. So he had to go and get it taken care of. But he's back and obviously wants his title back. So the fourth match was Finn Balor versus Carl Anderson. These two also were in New Japan. Same as Shinsuke Nakamura. So there's a lot of wrestlers that came from New Japan. I guess, like, I've seen a few of the shows on TV, and they're pretty, like, they have some good wrestlers. I didn't get into it, but they have some good wrestlers, so who knows? Seem they're all coming to WWE now. But Finn Balor won that match. The fifth match was Alicia Fox versus Sasha Banks. These competitors have gotten into it recently with each other. I don't know. I'm not understanding the storyline with these two. Alicia Fox is pretty much trying to be an unstable person. Like, she's trying to pull like a AJ Lee did like a few years ago. I don't know if they're trying to replay storylines or something. Like a crazy person. I don't know. And Sasha is just, Sasha is just Sasha. Sasha is just Sasha, and Sasha knows what she's doing, but Alicia Fox is just nuts. But Sasha won that match. Now before the sixth match of the night, Kalisto approached Apollo Crews backstage and said to Apollo that, he was doing Titus O'Neil's dirty work for him, and he didn't know why he was doing, why he was fighting Titus O'Neil's battles for him, and, what was the deal with being with the Titus brand, and, this kind of stuff. And Kalisto brought up that Apollo Crews attacked Enzo last week after the match, and then like Kalisto was like, well, did you attack him this week? And Apollo's like, would you really think that I would do that? Like, you know me. You've known me for a long time. Do you really think that I would do that? Well, I don't know. Like, you're hooked up with Titus O'Neil. I mean, come on now. You never know. So, but then Titus O'Neil comes up and he says, oh, he'd love to have an international client, with Kalisto being from Mexico. And Kalisto's like, yeah, no, I'm not joining the Titus brand, and walks off. And of course they have a match. Kalisto wins the match because Titus thinks he's all that in a bag of chips, and, interrupts and causes Apollo to get distracted. The seventh match was a winner chooses the stipulation for the tag team championship match at Extreme Rules in 2 weeks. It was Matt Hardy versus Sheamus. The winner was Matt Hardy. And Charlie Caruso is standing at the top of the ramp. And when the Hardy Boys get up there, and she's like, "So, what's the stipulation? What are you choosing?" And Matt's like, "Well, we choose a steel cage." So they're going to be wrestling in a steel cage here in 2 weeks at Extreme Rules, so that ought to be good. Looking forward to that. I wish they would have chose something more extreme, but, you know, hey, steel cage is extreme too. The 8th match was Austin Aries versus Tony Nese. This is another cruiserweight match. The winner was Austin Aries. The 9th match was Mickie James versus Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss won, and then she goes to attack Mickie James afterwards with a kendo stick. Because as I talked about before, Bayley and Alexa Bliss are facing each other at Extreme Rules in a kendo stick match. But she wanted to, Bliss wanted to show Bayley what she could do, pretty much. But Bayley comes out and ends up getting the kendo stick from Bliss, and Bliss runs, obviously, because that's what she's good at. And Bayley helps James to the back. 10th match was the match made earlier in the night by Angle, the Reigns and Rollins versus Wyatt and Joe. The winners were Wyatt and Joe via submission. Samoa Joe gave his Kimura lock, or whatever it's called, his submission hold on Seth Rollins, and Seth pretty much passed out. So that was the end of that match. Blacked him out on that one. Tuesday night Smackdown. We return to Backlash Sunday night because this was a SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view. Backlash was. We return to see where Jinder Mahal becomes WWE champion. And then we see Mahal showing up with police escorts at the start of the show. Shane McMahon starts out the show. We find out that Money in the Bank pay-per-view is in 4 weeks. Orton wants his rematch, and he gets it. Money in the Bank pay-per-view is going to be in St. Louis, which is Orton's hometown. So hopefully Orton can regain the championship. We'll see. There's been speculation to see how long Mahal is going to have the championship. If you want to, sound off in the comments about how long you think he's actually going to hold the title. I don't think he's going to hold it very long, but that's just me. Just because I don't like Mahal. And I am going to hinder Jinder. According to some of my other people who watch this, I am going to hinder Jinder. I don't like him. That's just me. There's a ladder match that's going to take place at Money in the Bank, the traditional Money in the Bank ladder match, contract match for a guaranteed World Championship match at any time within the next year. The participants are going to be Styles, Corbin, Zayn, Ziggler, and Nakamura. Owens tries to come out before the final participant is announced, but Shane stops him. Shane pretty much tells Owens that, like, look, you know you're not in this match. Like, I don't know why you're out here. But Owens pleads his case, and Shane's like, fine, whatever. You can be the 6th participant. So we have 6 participants in this match. Shane makes the Backlash rematch between Corbin and Zayn for tonight. Ziggler and Owens are going to be facing Styles and Nakamura also for tonight. The first match is going to be a tag team women's match. Natalya and Carmella versus Charlotte and Becky Lynch. The winners of that match were Charlotte and Becky Lynch. The second match was the rematch from Backlash, Sami Zayn versus Baron Corbin. The winner was Sami Zayn, who earlier in the show, Baron Corbin said that Sami Zayn, his win on Sunday was a fluke. Well, Sami Zayn pretty much kicked Baron's butt within like 2 minutes Tuesday night. So I don't know how much of a fluke that would be. But Jinder Mahal then has a celebration, championship celebration, for winning the title with lots of dancers and music and all that jazz. Third match is, well, before I get to the third match, little backstory. We saw Sunday night that the Usos faced Breezango for the tag team championships. Well, Breezango lost, obviously. But on this week's Fashion Files, we see that Breezango is turning in their badges and their guns, which are squirt guns, to Shane and saying that they don't deserve to be cops anymore. They don't deserve to be detectives or whatever they're considered. And they don't deserve, to be whatever. Shane convinces them otherwise, and so Shane says that they're going to wrestle the Usos again, individually. So Jey Uso is going to face Tyler Breeze in the third match of the night. And by some antics, of course, by Fandango and Breeze, Tyler Breeze wins that match. And then Fandango faces Jimmy Uso, and again, by some antics, Fandango wins. Of course, Usos are not happy. And the Usos, are like, why is this happening? Why are you guys doing, making a mockery of this? They don't understand what's going on. And so Breezango are like, well, if you want to, you can put up the championships again and try and see what happens, and, we can go from there. Well, the ref gets on the headset with Shane, and Shane makes it official, and so the tag team championship is official. Breezango tries their antics more, but the Usos retain. So that's the fifth match of the night. Then we hear from Natalya, who storms into Shane's office and says, look, you said weeks ago that if anybody wanted a chance at the title, that they just had to come and ask. Well, I want my chance at the title. Carmella comes in and she's like, look, I want my chance at the title. I'm the one who won this match. I want my chance. Tamina comes in and says, look, I want my chance. I'm deserving of this title. I want it, Becky Lynch comes in. I want my chance. I was the first to ever want Smackdown Live Women's Champion. I want my chance. Charlotte comes in and she's like, all this is because of me. All this is happening because of me, because y'all don't like me. And she's like, I deserve to have my crown, typical Charlotte. So Shane decides to make a fatal 5-way elimination match for next week against Tamina, Charlotte, Carmella, Natalya, and Becky Lynch. The winner will face Naomi at Money in the Bank pay-per-view in 4 weeks. So we'll see next week what happens. From reports that I've also read, I don't know how true it is because it hasn't been announced yet, but there may be talks of a first ever Money in the Bank contract ladder match for women. So not sure what's going to happen yet. Not really, I'm not sure because it hasn't been announced yet. Therefore, not really sure what's going to happen. But there's still 4 weeks until the pay-per-view, so things could change between now and then. So we'll see. The sixth match is a tag team action match between Ziggler and Owens versus Styles and Nakamura. The winners are Styles and Nakamura. We'll see how that match goes here. Money in the Bank ladder match with those four, along with the ones that wrestled earlier in the night. It should be good. I'm excited. It's hard to choose between certain ones because I like Styles and I also like Zayn. Styles is now turning into like a good guy, so I'm not really sure. Plus I like Zayn, so we'll see where things go with that. Another topic I wanted to cover is the women's tournament that is coming up this summer. July 13th and 14th. Just like the United Kingdom Championship tournament, there's going to be a women's tournament that is going to be held. There's 32 competitors from all over the world. It's a single elimination tournament that's going to be held at Full Sail University, which is where NXT takes place in Florida. Held over 2 days, July 13th and 14th. And this women's tournament has officially been named as the Mae Young Classic. If you don't know who Mae Young is, she is an old-time wrestler who, oh my gosh, wrestled like a long time ago. She was a great women's wrestler. She passed away, I think, like 2009 or something like that. But she was a great wrestler back in the day and had some great antics like years ago. And she used to team up with the Fabulous Moolah. And, you know, she has been an inspiration for many women that have come after her. Even like Lita and Trish Stratus and, you know, different women that have come after her. So it's nice to see that she's finally being used for something. I'm actually looking forward to this because currently we only have 6 competitors on each, 6 women on each, both Raw and on Smackdown. Now there is talk that Summer Rae has been cleared to come back to compete. She is currently on the Raw brand, but they're not sure where to put her or what storyline to put her in because the 6 women who are there have already established their storylines, so they're not really sure. Plus, on SmackDown, Lana is supposed to be debuting sometime soon, whenever that'll be. Not really sure when that's happening yet, but she's supposed to be debuting within the next few weeks, so we shall see. So if those 2 debut within the next month or so, then we would have 7 competitors on each show. So we shall see what happens and how many people they sign from this women's tournament, because obviously they sign more people from like the NXT tournament, from the Cruiserweight Classic than just the winner. So we'll see how this one goes. That's pretty much all that I have for this week. Thank you for watching for another week of wrestling news and information. If you have anything you would like me to cover for next week, give me a shout out, send me an email, whatever works best. Leave a comment, and of course, don't forget to subscribe.